Now, working off round wood, I think that's pretty bloody good.
So now we get to the fun bit, the actual putting the frame together. But before I do that, I've got to get the footings done. Now with a modern building with a solid roof, a big job of the footings is to tie the building to the ground so the wind blowing, creating an uplift on the roof doesn't lift the whole house away. But with traditional building, they're often a lot heavier. And while the frame of this building can be quite light because it's just in pole construction, the thatch that'll be on top of the roof, forming the roof, that's going to get pretty heavy and that'll keep the building down. So the only thing I need the footings to do is stop the bottom of the pole from getting wet. We've got our first log here, and if you actually see, it's got a bit of a curve down towards this fork. And that's actually a good thing for this style of building or this design, because it can give you a bunch of extra headroom.
Now, normally I wouldn't use a Sharpie to do this, but it's just so it's clear for you guys in the video. We've got, so the center line's kind of there, but we've got a bit of a curve, so it's slightly off. So let's just say it's there. And this is, you know, this is seriously rough. We're not talking fine furniture here. First thing I've done is drawn a line across here, not centered on the pith. Next thing I'm doing is a proportion of roughly 3 to 5. So let's make that 15 to 9. So there's 9. And that's roughly 15 down there. So there's that. We want this to be roughly 90 degree. So there. So based on that, I can actually shift this further back. So I just take the square to the other side of that line, move it up there a wee ways, and so all this needs to come out. I was hoping to avoid using my good saws on this stuff because of all the dust and everything that can get in there. But because this is mostly a rip cut, I'm going to have to. The good news there is that the rip teeth are relatively easy to sharpen. But with this hardwood, you want to go very carefully. Now, working off round wood, I think that's pretty bloody good. I've just got 3 more to do.
So now we're getting the cool bit, put the frame up. First step is forming 2 A-frames which will be assembled on the ground like so, and then I'm going to stand them up like that. If any of you are disappointed that you're not seeing any cool, funky, traditional Japanese joinery, well, sorry. The problem with traditional joinery where you're only using wood is that you lose a lot of the wood when you cut the joints, and that really weakens the timbers. And that's why traditional framing, whether it's in the English, French, German, Chinese, Japanese tradition, the timbers are often relatively massive. It's not because you need a massive timber to hold the load. It's that you need a massive timber to provide enough meat in the wood to form the joints. Lashings like this was a technique that was used until relatively recently, even in the developed world. Here in Australia, this technique was still being used in the 50s, 60s, 70s. In Japan, I believe it was still being used in the 60s and 70s. So, apology, not apologies, if you were expecting me to be doing funky joinery. And if you doubt what I'm saying, I want you to contrast the elegance, the finesse of Japanese joinery, and contrast that with the simplicity, the functionality of a Japanese toolbox. For a workshop like this, it's the same attitude. first 2 frames up. As you can see though, they're not quite secure. But in the next episode, we're going to be getting more of the frame up, more of the structure up. And so I hope you join me. And so you don't miss it when the video comes out, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the little bell notification. And I'll catch you guys soon. Bye-bye.